pour your finest mead, and don your horniest hats. 'Cause we're sailing into Tiny Epic Vikings. Skull! Well, this copy is just a prototype, so expect some cosmetic changes when you play it with your clan. Well, here we go. The game takes place over 3 eras, where you'll play a handful of cards that represent a generation of Viking leaders. These leaders have a few options that you can utilize. Firstly, like most games, the goal is to obliterate your enemies. And the way to do that is through collecting runes. These magical sigils help you throughout the game, but battling for the ones on favor cards guarantee you those sweet victory points. So let's start there. You'll be playing 1 card on your turn. If you play one face down, it means you're picking a fight with the other clans around the table. And furthermore, you'll have the great honor of selecting a prize for the victor. These will have runes that turn to points at the game's end, but they can also grant you resources you can use along the way. We'll get to that in a second. If someone has initiated a battle, you can join by playing a face-down card of your own in the rightmost position of your played cards. Then wait eagerly for the bloodbath to commence. When it's the next turn for the player who kicked the whole thing off, everyone flips their cards and starts measuring to see who has the, most impressive numbers. The biggest wins. Some battle values must be paid for with your steel resources to activate. It takes a lot of steel to make those blades and shields and whatnot. And some cards can be pumped up 1 point at a time through Island Conquest and played Viking cards. We're getting to that. If you win, you get the card as well as any printed bonuses. If you lose, it's not all that bad. The 3 rune types are actually tethered to 3 god cards watching disapprovingly from above. And they have a temper. So, whatever rune was on the card that you lost with tells you which of the gods increases their fury by 1. Additionally, they grant you a consolation prize called a Vallhalla benefit. So death in battle gains you some glory at least. However, it's not all axe-to-axe combat. Your card can also be played face-up to use its leader action. Always building left to right. Exploration is a big part of this game, so let's start there. Sail lets you move that number of spaces, to or from a dock, or to an adjacent fjord. That's Viking for spaces separated by dotted lines. If you sail into dock, you can spend your food resources to deploy your settlers, who then can gain you control of said island and send your enemies packing. You can also raid the village, which can be dedicated later to activate handy abilities. Raiding requires you to pay a steel cost, dictated by the current era. Also, controlling an island means controlling the runes shown on the map. Those are good to have. But when you move a rune to your area, the god matching its color gets huffy, and up goes the fury tracker. Sheesh, we're walking on eggshells here. These runes also allow you to activate your leader's secondary action. If you have the required amount of runes, of course. Check your island runes, as well as the ones on your played Viking cards. Gather up enough of these bad boys and you can unlock your true Viking spirit. You can also play a build action, spending wood resources to build boats and temples that give you more influence on the islands. It makes it harder for the enemy to take them away from you. Building costs wood, and each unit has a different cost. Some cheaper, some, well, less so. These can be built in any order. So if you're swimming in resources early on, it might be a good idea to knock out some of the pricier ones. Your settlers can even traverse the dotted lines, called fairy routes, to visit more islands and try to control more runes. Weirdly, temples can do this too, which, while handy, I still can't imagine the visual of a building riding a boat, sipping a drink and humming a tune to pass the time. Anyway, you can swap cards, you can swap resources, you can kick opponents' pieces off the islands, or harvest more resources. Whatever your played card tells you can do. After an era ends, meaning when everyone has used up all their cards, a new era begins. You'll draft a new hand of cards and rating prices go up. After 3 rounds, it's time to tally up your final scores. This is done with your island and favor card runes. But it's also according to which of the gods got the maddest. The fury levels determines the value of the runes you end the game with. The angrier, the better. So getting them all worked up could be a good thing. If you have the right color runes, that is. And that's it, our quick overview of Tiny Epic Vikings. Like every other game I've ever played that starts with those 2 words, it was very much worth my time. And I really felt the theme. And it'll be hitting Kickstarter, well, now I believe. So if you want to get your Viking on, go and have a look. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Vallhalla.